Hello, friends, and welcome to Marketing with Purpose. So, I'm Monica Pitts, and today I have a special guest with me, Laura Smith. And, hmm, so where do I start with Laura? Well, all kinds of places because she's super smart and she's been my friend for many years. So, I met Laura because we traveled abroad together in college. And the way that we met is actually quite fun because our maiden names are both SCH. So mine's Schumacher and hers is Schaefer. And so we ended up having to be on the bus together, on the plane together. We shared rooms together like all the time. And one of the funnest parts about traveling with Laura is that I'd had 2 semesters of Spanish. She had 0 semesters of Spanish. And all through high school, I had taken French. Well, it's a Romance language. And so I could just speak it, but I didn't have like any real vocabulary. So I understood the structure and the composition of the language, but I didn't have the vocabulary. So Laura was in all these beginner classes where they just like fed her words nonstop. And so she learned all this vocab and I could construct things. So we would go around together and it would be like, hey, Laura, what's the word for newspaper? And she would say, periodico. And I'm like, okay, sweet. And then I would ask the vendor for a newspaper. And so we made a pretty dynamic team and ate lots of chocolate cake and drank lots of Coca Colas while we were in Costa Rica and stayed in tree houses and swam in the ocean. It was awesome. And then later on, she was my roommate and it was great. Okay, so then, like, let's fast forward, I don't know, like 15, 17 years. And this, a few months ago, I was in the car traveling to North Dakota because I was going to my grandfather's funeral. And I was calling people to talk to them about this mission that we're on to help nonprofits market themselves, right? And find the success that they need in their marketing plan to continue on and just thrive. So Laura calls me because she was just going to talk. And I started talking to her and I was like, wait a second, Laura, I forgot. You have been doing nonprofit marketing forever. Like since she worked at May Create, and she worked at May Create back in like way back in the day, like 2007 or 2008. And she was an account service person for us and a writer because she's an amazing writer. So she agreed that she would come on a Facebook Live with me, which is so awesome. And she even works for a nonprofit now as a writer. So she agreed that she would talk to us about how to write emails and social media posts to ask for donations because I feel like that's like, some people love to write, some people are Laura's. I love to write, but I do feel sometimes like that little bit of doubt about writing. And then there's other people who are just like nearly paralyzed by the idea of writing. And so I'm hoping that whether you're an experienced writer and you're just looking for some new ideas, or if you're a person who absolutely hates to write but has to write because it's part of your job, Laura is going to help us understand all those things today.
If you're a natural born marketer, you're one lucky son of a gun. If you're like most people, marketing, especially online marketing, is about as appealing as standing in a police lineup. The May Create team of creatives has transformed websites and digital marketing from craptastic to fantastic since 2005. Our podcast, Marketing with Purpose, makes sense of marketing so you can make purposeful decisions instead of carrying on with the same old crap you've been doing. And now your host, Monica Pitts, founder of May Create, with another episode on how to make your marketing not suck.
So I think I just did like the longest intro in history. But before I jump in and like replay this Facebook Live interview with Laura Smith for you, I totally want to invite you to join us for our online fundraising events boot camp. I'm very excited about it. It's like probably 11/12. It's funny that that's the number. On-demand content for you, answering your questions about doing your online fundraising events. It's got everything from how to run your trivia night to your gala, your 5K, all the things that you have questions about, how to add value for your sponsors. I interviewed all these experts and they're so amazing. I can't wait for you to hear all of the advice that they have. And then, to sweeten the pot, really, my team came up with take and bake marketing recipes for your social media and email with templates, reasons why, and even a whole a schedule for you to publish this stuff in, and just, to take the guesswork out of all that promotional stuff that you have to do to run your online fundraising event. So that way you can focus on running that event and just use these templates that they made to get people there. I'm super excited about it. It is $20. It is at youmaycreate.com, youmayecreate.com. And now let's get to business. I can't wait for you to hear everything that Laura has to say about asking for donations via email and using social media.
I just gave everybody our complete backstory and history on how we met on a study abroad trip in Costa Rica.
True story.
And how you fed me full of vocabulary and chocolate cake and Coca-Cola.
And you made sure that all the verbiage was right and everything was in the right order.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Teamwork.
I know. It was. Okay, so our topic today is how to ask for donations in writing using email and social media. I'm pretty excited about hearing about it, actually. Laura, why don't you kick us off by telling us about yourself and, how you're so qualified to talk about this topic?
Sure, definitely. So I graduated from the best university journalism program in the entire world, which of course is at Mizzou. And whenever I was there, one of my journalism teachers said that marketing and PR is the dark arts of journalism. And I just love that and kind of hung on to that. And so by working with nonprofits, I feel like I'm using my powers for good. And even though they are the dark arts and maybe being a little sneaky sometimes, I am using my powers for good. So it's okay. It's totally okay. Currently, I work for Lutheran Senior Services, and we're a nonprofit that works in senior living. We've got communities here in St. Louis, out in mid-Missouri, and in central Illinois, and we're a nonprofit organization. Prior to that, I worked at an ad agency for about 10 years, where all my clients were agriculture clients, all in the nonprofit sector. My major client was a nonprofit board, agricultural board, and I actually call myself a little bit of a board junkie. I love boards. I love nonprofit boards. I think that they are really cool. I think the way they get work done, even though sometimes it takes a little bit longer, I think that it's a very good way to do things and to make decisions. I am also on the board for our local animal shelter. And so you'll hear me talk about the shelter and about Lutheran Senior Services and some of my examples today in our conversation. And then my husband's on several boards, and I've been known to go to board meetings with him just because I love boards, Monica. I love a good board meeting. Can't help myself.
I don't know if I have ever heard anyone say that before.
I know, it's a problem.
Usually everybody's like, the board. Yeah. And so it's awesome that you love it. I feel important when I'm on a board, but as a business owner, I get pretty impatient pretty fast. I'm like, let's make a decision. And they're like, I don't know, we should really make sure that we're politically correct about it. And I'm like, why?
You can only walk as fast as your slowest person on a board.
Yes. So I know that you are a servant at heart, right? Like that is absolutely you. And all the way from being that board member to being a full-time employee. So you're fully aware of how important writing is to meeting your fundraising goals. But so many people are not writers, and writing really freaks them out. So I thought we'd try to give them some tips and maybe a little insight into your writer's brain to help them understand how you approach making the ask in writing. So my first question is, and this is a really big one. Like, I think you could probably give a whole webinar on this, quite frankly. If you were to outline what to put into a fundraising ask email, what would you say the components are? Like, what should my rubric be?
So, my first tip is to find a story, because everybody loves stories. And that's something I think we're seeing throughout so much now, especially in journalism and in marketing and advertising. People just love stories. I just went away. There I am. And so, really find a story that kind of highlights that ask that you're going to have, but also connects back to your bigger mission and purpose. And so making that connection is really important. And if you find that story, then it's going to write itself, I promise. Once you find that really great story, and you can use it in a lot of different ways, so that'll be really great. So after I find that story and I make sure that's connected to the larger mission and purpose, I then talk about the need. So the story kind of flows into the need, and then you want to talk to your supporters about how they can help. What specifically can they do? Do you want them to send you cat food? Do you want them to send you a gift card that you can use for something? Do you want them to send you a check? So be sure you're specific about your ask, tie back to that story, and then say thanks. It's really that simple, just 4 steps.
Well, you made it sound really easy.
Done it a few times.
I bet. So now, one of the things that I have heard about and thought about really a lot in nonprofit marketing, and I'm happy to say that none of my clients actually do this, they don't tell like super sad stories. They're not turning the people that they serve into like these really, really sad cases. Most of them are talking about how they're like empowering and like they make you feel like it would be awesome to be like part of this empowerment, right? Where I guess, I don't know, like my question is maybe not really a question, but where's the line, between creating need and like finding the story that really makes you feel like you're doing something big,
I say the simpler and more genuine and kind of you want to have that overall, like something that everyone can understand. You don't want it to be too specific to where like, I've never even felt that in my life or known someone who would feel that. So why would I care about that? You want everyone to kind of have that big idea that everyone can kind of get behind.
Sweet. Okay. So my next question. Okay. So a lot of the nonprofits that I've been speaking to right now are a little leery about asking for the donations, especially the big ones with the COVID situation, because there's so much need and everybody's hurting in some way or another, right? So does that like change your formula at all, or does it just play into your normal,
Yeah, so everyone's hurting in their own way. Everyone is dealing with this in their own way. But at the same time, I think we all want to help more than ever before. And I think if we all have a little something to give, I think we all want to give that right now, which is really, really amazing. And, at the beginning, I think we all kind of stepped back and said, whoa, we're just going to put on pause everything because we just don't want to screw this up. And it's weird. It's a weird time. But kind of after that, we found that people are wanting to help. They want to step up. So if you can give them some direction, and especially if you already have some supporters or some people who are kind of interested in your organization, it's a great time to be like, hey, here's a specific, easy thing you can do. With Lutheran Senior Services, whenever this whole thing started hitting, we, for our non-clinical positions, we were having a shortage of masks. I mean, it was a big problem in the hospitals. It was a problem everywhere. And we had this whole group of volunteers who we couldn't bring into our communities like we normally would. And so what we were able to do is put out a call for donations and ask them to come and make masks for us. And so we sent out patterns. We had people who I don't sew, but you know what? I got a whole thing of cloth. I was able to send that in and they were able to get it to a volunteer who was able to turn it into masks. How cool is that? I mean, that was amazing to be able to do that. And not only did it make a big difference because it was able to give, some of our serving staff and our dining staff and our maintenance staff, protection, but it also was able to give this whole army of people who were not being used, but wanted to step up and do something. It gave them something to do. And so I wouldn't be shy about it. Maybe you have to be more creative and not ask for money. Maybe you have to think of something literal to do.
Mhm.
But people are really wanting to help out right now. So I say go for it. Don't be shy.
I'm surprised that you didn't just start whipping out crocheting a mask.
No, I definitely did a lot of the ear things that kind of extend them back. So don't worry, I found a way.
One of the things that Laura and I actually used to do was sit on our couch and crochet like old ladies. Yes,
It's true.
we did it. Well, I still crochet like an old lady from time to time. Okay, so when you get started writing, what's your process? Like, tell me your path to like a finished email.
So at Lutheran Senior Services, we have a whole team of people who work with our supporters and our donors and our volunteers, which is awesome because they're on the ground. So they know like what these people, they kind of know how far we can push them. So I always start there. I understand that not everyone is so lucky to have departments like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have to put on your different hat and have that little internal brainstorm about, okay, who are these people that I'm talking to? Because, we talked about volunteers, you're going to have your big donors, you're going to have, those new people that you're just trying to get out there. And then you're going to have the general public that maybe doesn't even know about you, but you want to start to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of got to figure out that audience and who are you talking to and how do you want to talk to them? So, we start there, set a couple goals. And then again, it's, finding that great story. And we don't always, especially if you're dealing with people, you don't always have someone who's like, yeah, go ahead, tell my whole story. Let's get it all out there. It's totally okay to use a composite and, draw from a couple different ideas and give them a name. And, we did that with our annual appeal letter. And it still worked really well. It still came across really nicely. So I don't think it's a bad thing to do at all. If you can't really find that one story or that one person who's willing to be like, yeah, go ahead, share everything about me. And really from there, the story will totally guide you. Again, just go back to those 4 steps, make sure it goes back to your mission, have the ask, tie back to your story and say thanks.
Sweet. Matt West says you're the best in the biz.
Oh, hi, Matt. I miss you. I miss everyone now, though.
I know. Oh, man. It's real right now. You hear my kids jumping around upstairs because they're up there. They're just pounding on the ceiling. Dang
Nice.
Creatures. Okay. So now, how often do you send an email like this to your supporters?
And again, this is going to vary by audience.
Okay.
So with our volunteers and those people who, are truly another arm of your organization, and especially the places I volunteer with, like I'm hearing from them, especially right now, every week. So those people that you want to keep in touch with and you want to stay on the line, like I said, especially those volunteers and people who really consider themselves part of your organization, you want to be in constant contact with those folks. Especially right now when you probably aren't seeing each other, they're not able to come into your organization or come into your building or just come see you or, come do that hands-on work. So those are folks, like I said, I definitely get weekly emails from the places I volunteer. I know that we have a volunteer management system that we're in constant contact with our volunteers. With donors and kind of those big asks, you want to do your appeal so they know when they're going to hear from you. A summer appeal is great. Appeals around the holidays are kind of toward the end of the year, of course, are always good because everyone's starting to look at those tax numbers and wondering how they can kind of do some different things there. So, and those are times people expect to be getting that kind of information, that kind of ask is kind of toward the end of the year, November, December. So that's good. So those big asks, I'd say, twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. And then those smaller supporters, and those volunteers and people more frequently.
So the ones where you're like, hey, we need some more dog food. You could do that a little more frequently than you might be like, hey, give us a couple $100.
Exactly.
And as the need arises, why wouldn't you communicate with them? Right.
Right. Yeah. People want to help. They really do. You just got to give them a pathway to do it.
Okay. So then moving ourselves into social media, like, is your process different for your social media posts than it is for your emails?
So the great thing about the emails is you do that first because that's your big piece. That's going to be your big piece that you're going to use for a lot of things. And once you have that, you can break it down into a lot of ways and use that as social media content. So you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not starting over. As anyone on my teams will tell you, I'm a huge fan of reusing stuff.
Yeah.
And plug and play. As soon as I got that copy and we're happy with it, all right, great. Let's shorten it up. Let's put it with a different graphic and throw it on social media. We actually did this with our appeal this fall. And it was really cool because we had a story about Marie. And each section of it, we did a chapter and we released it throughout the day on Giving Tuesday. So people could kind of read, and go here to donate. And then kind of by the end of the day, you could go through and read her whole story, but you kind of got little bits of it throughout the day. And so we got to hit the people who were online in the morning, people who were checked in over lunch, people who were there after work, people who were late nighters. And we had the whole story there eventually with, and we were able to just use the copy basically that I wrote, just shortened a smidge. So that's how I do it for those big asks, is just write that email first and then plug and play from there. For those smaller ones, it's really straightforward. You mentioned dog food. The shelter that I am on the board for here in St. Charles, they recently rescued 50 kittens from a bad situation down south. And so as soon as they found out they were going down there, they said, hey, we got a van. We're going to go rescue 50 kittens. We need money. So people sent them. So they went online and said, here's what we're doing. We're really excited, but we need your help. Some people put in money. And then when they got back, they're like, oh, now we got to vet all these cats and we got to feed them all. And so they put in, hey, here's the link to Amazon. And this is the kind of food we like to feed our cats. If you could send us a case, that'd be great. Got cases and cases of food. So on those smaller ones, I mean, you don't have to have a huge, big, long story, but, cute picture, a great picture, and a specific ask definitely can do it.
And a reason. And I mean, giving them the Amazon link is big too, because that makes it easy. I think the easier you can make it for people, the more likely they are to do it.
Yes.
Just make them go through 14 hoops to get something done. They're
right. Or if you don't tell them what you want, you've got to, I think the more specific you can be, people want to help. You got to tell them how to help and lead them to the water and let them drink it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we're writing monthly social media posts for our clients, one of the things that I look for is like a good mix of story, thanking, and then an ask. When I see too many asks jammed up into one another, I'm like, guys, I don't really feel like you're my friend anymore. I feel like maybe you're doing something else. So, how often do you make an ask via social media? Is it like, do you plan it out, or is it just, yeah?
So with Lutheran Senior Services, ours are very much around those big appeals. Whenever we're going to do it, the COVID mask was kind of something special that came up, and we're kind of like, this is a good opportunity, and we have people who want to do stuff. But for the most part, we really kind of stick to it around those big days. I know in Columbia, you guys have the Columbia Como Gives. Here we have Give STL Day. So those are kind of, we tend to focus kind of around those days and stay around there because they're mostly just straight up, donation asks for that kind of stuff. So we do keep that fairly small. Now on the shelter side of the board that I'm on, it is as we need it. So sometimes, you are on there and it's like, every week they're like, oh, we need this, with a lot of those thank yous and a lot of those, awesome rescue stories, or, whenever they're able to match an animal with their forever home, like those are such great stories. So you're absolutely right. You got to get the mix in there. You can't be ask, but it kind of depends upon your organization and what your need is.
I love this. This is great. Thanks. Okay. My next question. Any pointers for how to write the social media ask to make it more successful?
Again, like I said, the more specific, the better. You got to tell people what you want. You can't just ask them for help. You got to, buy a ticket to this event, send us an auction item. Here's what we need for this event. Hey, we need gift cards. Hey, we need cat food, those kind of things. But I think the more specific you can be, the more comfortable people will be with it. They won't have to quite frankly, they don't have to think for themselves. And great photos. I mean, we're here talking about writing and how you have to have, the wonderful story and all that, but the wonderful photos, of that really, really show what you're doing and really, draw people in. I think that's what's going to grab you, especially on social media.
Yeah. So I was just working with Isabella, who writes the majority really of our social media copy for our clients. And I've tasked her with making a template for our online fundraising event boot camp to give away to people that they can use for different types of social media posts. And so she's like, well, Monica, I just think that we're too focused on the words right now because the images and the videos are what's going to make people read this post. And I was like, touche, salesman. Yeah, it is. So let's give them ideas for, the types of images that they can use. And so she was really reflecting your, because it's true. I mean, sometimes you click on the really long story, but a lot of the time it's that image that.
Yeah. And the cool thing we've done, like I was talking about that chaptered piece that we did, is, kind of use the banner or the frame. That's where, oh, this is part of an ongoing post, or, oh, they're doing a big, give STL day. We do something, and kind of everything that week will be themed around that. So that's one way to tie things together if you're kind of spreading them out graphically.
There you go. Give them that visual interest to tie them in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to make all the graphics and stuff?
Oh, Lord, no, Monica, that'd be a mess. You know how long that would take?
Well, you have some designy capabilities. I don't know.
It would take us forever. We'd never get any posts out the door.
Man, I was super, super excited and surprised. Jason, our other writer, is actually a really good designer. And I didn't know this when I hired him. So the crazy thing is, if you can write and you can design, then the things that you design are that much more purposeful because you are like crafting them together with the words.
Because you actually read the words.
Yes. Oh, to every designer out there, you got to read the stuff. They're not just shapes. They're actually words.
There's things there. They mean something.
So I did want to ask you to tell people, I forgot to put this in my list of questions, about like the lock-in thing that you guys did over at the shelter, because that seemed so very
the slumber potty.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did, and this was last summer, and it was shelters all across St. Louis did it. And it was just a lock-in to where we had some board members, some local personalities come, and they stayed the night in the shelter, and they each got like a power hour to where they were on Facebook Live and they were playing with the animals and they were trying to outfund each other. And so it was super cute. I mean, it was just, and of course everyone's in their PJs, and they had cute little activities for the dogs at night that were like slumber potty-ish. Like they did nails, or they would like watch like an animal themed movie or have like popcorn. And it was super cute, and it went all night. They ended up raising just crazy amounts of money. It worked really, really well. It was really fun.
I think it would be fun to be stuck in there with all the animals all night.
I know. I'd take them all home.
I would too. I'm not allowed to go.
Just come. No.
I know. One of my friends keeps sending me pictures of animals, and I'm like, I can't have any more. We got Aveline, a guinea pig, the weirdest creature ever. I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, just keep feeding it lettuce. It will become our friends eventually. I can't train it to sit. It runs away from me. We set up a playpen in her room so she could take it out and chase it around, and put it back in. That's okay. It's
as long as it stays there.
Yeah. Okay, so to wrap ourselves up, for these nonprofits who are maybe on the fence or maybe not feeling comfortable about asking for donations right now, what would you tell them?
I would say start small. So, what might be the best thing to do right now is, we're about mid-year, so maybe it's a summer appeal. Maybe it's that quick, easy email that is introducing yourself. The thing that I really loved about this time and about people paying more attention to, social media and email and those kind of things is we've reached so many people from out of state who may not know either. And I'm talking about all the organizations I work with who may not hear about us because, a friend tagged themselves in something or shared something that they saw that they liked. And so I think right now is a great opportunity to just jump in and start doing something. So I would just start with that appeal, and then you've already got that content that then you can roll out with social media too. Your organization has those awesome stories. That's why we all do this, because the organization that we work with, or the organizations, in your case, Monica, that you work with, you love and you believe in. And we wouldn't do this if we didn't love and believe in it. That's what makes waking up awesome. That's what makes working those late nights awesome, is because at the end of the day, you love it and you believe in it. And because you believe in it, you'll be able to get other people to believe in it too. It's just taking that first step and sitting down and thinking about that story, or thinking about that big purpose and making sure they tie together and just starting to get the message out there.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing all of your expertise.
Anytime.
So for those of you guys who hopped on and maybe are viewing the last part of this and want to hear the first part of it, we will roll this into our podcast. So it'll go out on the Marketing with Purpose podcast next week. It's very fun. Actually, podcasting is probably one of the funnest mediums I've ever ventured into. Videos are a little awkward, but podcasting is awesome. You don't have to write it and edit it. You just talk and then it becomes this thing. It's pretty fun. So you can join us there. And also, my last announcement, we just opened the doors so you can register for our online fundraising boot camp. And I've already had 7 people sign up. So I'm really excited. So thank you everybody who has signed up. And I'm excited to share all these people's stories with them, because it was pretty great. I learned a lot interviewing all these experts about how to run an online event, because I don't do online events. I just knew that I needed to solve a problem. Okay, so with that, we will sign off. Thank you very much. Oh, wait, Laura, one more thing. If people want to ask you a question or learn more about Lutheran Family Services, how would they get a hold of you?
I think the best would probably be my personal email, Laura Schaefer. That's Laura Schaefer, SCHAFER, and that's at hotmail.com.
Woohoo! That is an old email.
I know. I've had it since I was 10. I can't break away from it, Monica. I just can't.
Oh, you're like a digital native. You were raised on it, right?
True story. Millennial right here, through and through.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening, friends. I hope that you enjoyed learning from Laura as much as I did. She is so smart and so incredibly cool, right? Okay, so before I let you go, I just want to invite you one more time to come hang out with us at our online fundraising events boot camp. If you are planning an online fundraiser right now, I have so many answers for you in this on-demand content and in our live Q&A session with our experts. And I have information about how to give value to your sponsors, how to stream your event, how to do that gala, 5K, trivia night, all those things that you're trying to figure out. I have had the opportunity to interview experts who've been doing it and people who've had success with it. It was awesome. I know you're going to love it. And as far as the marketing goes, we totally have your back over here at May Create. We've created templates. We have a schedule for you, all of it downloadable, ready for you to use inside of our online fundraising events bootcamp. Now, it's not going to be available forever. So hop on over, get registered. It's $20. Go to youmaycreate.com, youmayecreate.com, and join us. Let's get those events planned and rolling.
Thanks again for listening to Marketing with Purpose. Head over to maycreate.com, MAYECREATE.com. Yeah, you heard me right, MAYECreate.com for podcast notes and more resources to grow your business. Don't let your marketing suck. Get your pride on, market with purpose.